All right, we are live. Hey, if you're tuning in to learn about name, image, likeness agreements, we've got the panel for you. We've got some of the folks that are leading the industry here in the Virginia area. We've got professional athletes, and we're going to be talking about all things NIL. What are they? Well, what's happening in the college and now the high school space, and how is it going to affect your student athlete or you as you move forward? So let me first introduce our panel. I'll start to my right, upper right, Doug Hicks, who I used to work with many years ago at Washington Sports and Entertainment. Doug is with Triumph. He's their director of communications. Is that correct, Doug?
Yes, I'm a partner in the firm and oversee our marketing communications focus.
Fantastic. Right below him is our own Coach Eddie Mason. He heads up MASE training. He is a longtime veteran, NFL veteran. I don't know how many teams you played on, 3, 4, but I still remember, I think as a linebacker, he ran a 4.4. So Eddie's going to bring a huge perspective as he trains athletes that are, getting ready to go to college, and does a fantastic job. And then we have Brenden Hill, who is also a strategic partner, I believe, with Triumph. And so there you go. Take it away. What should we be learning about as parents, coaches, players about NIL agreements? Maybe you can start off, Doug.
Well, as far as what you need to know is that this is an opportunity for everybody. So if you're going to college, there's opportunities out there for you, and it's important to be informed across the board, even if you're not participating straight away. The one thing that's most important is compliance. So you got to make sure that you are aware of opportunities. And when opportunities come your way, or if you are outwardly soliciting opportunities or seeking, areas of where you might be able to monetize your name, image, or likeness, you need to make sure that you're working with someone who's professional and understands compliance, whether it be at the school that you're attending or through an agency that is focused on putting these deals together. You need to make sure that you're looked after and your eligibility isn't compromised.
So Eddie sent me over a great article. I'll put it into the comments field, but he said that there are different types of NIL sponsorship opportunities. And as I'm reading them, maybe you can correct me, free products, free services, affiliate money, ambassador relationship. What are some of those things? Because I'm a parent or a student athlete. What the heck's an NIL, and what are those options?
I would say there's we look at it at Triumph where we look at it more in buckets where you can get money from or opportunities from companies. Those are businesses that are looking to interact with athletes to build their name, image, or to leverage those name, images, and likeness in order to drive a product or drive their business in some way. They're looking for return. There's also donor opportunities, and those are they're not necessarily as interested in driving a business, but they want to help the university and their athletes, and they have differing needs and different ways of getting return, and that presents other opportunities and other things that are a little bit more difficult to walk through. That's when we're talking about eligibility opportunity or eligibility issues and being compliant. The last thing or the last bucket that we look to are what we would call fans or supporters. Those are groups, or that group is made up of people that probably aren't putting in the dollars or the single transactions that are as large financially, but they provide a great opportunity in terms of the athletes where when we are able to gather that and scale those fans, that provides a significant bucket and a significant earning opportunity. And that's where you might put together merchandise opportunities, engagement opportunities, memorabilia opportunities, NFTs. Those are areas where if you're working with a group, you can put together products that are leveraged on your name, image, likeness, and they sell, and the incoming transactions are smaller. But when you scale those by great numbers, if you're at a large college or if you're at a program that has significant following, you can really benefit.
And I
So
piggyback back on that.
go ahead, Brenden.
And just in layman's terms, in your brand, as a student athlete, name, image, and likeness has been around, not new. It's just new to the college spot. Michael Jordan leveraged Kareem Abdul-Jabbar leveraged Billie Jean King leveraged her name. And athletes forever have leveraged likeness in exchange for gain. So new to college, and that's kind of the panic and things. The system of college legally had to do this before that. Some schools have, they were participating in NIL in a way, and legal. So it's not new to the college arena. So. Got you.
Okay. So go ahead, Ed.
I'm going to chime in because I know for a lot of parents, right, and watch this live, and ultimately at the end of the day, you were speaking to it regarding the compliance issues. My question is, if you have a graduate about to go to college and you have current collegiate student athletes, what to be complying with without, so they don't forfeit their amateurism to play things that they need to make sure that they're not doing in order to maintain that amateur.
That's a great question, Eddie. Hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Am I lagging at all?
A little bit, but that's okay.
Just want to. So that's a great question. A little bit on this too, but I think the main stage you live in, to know, is it to receive benefits in exchange for your name before you become a student athlete. And when you compromise your Virginia right now, where it's not legal, or Virginia high school, you wouldn't necessarily lose your eligibility. You would lose your. But if a school and it was maybe you hadn't committed to that school, that's where you could lose your collegiate eligibility, right? But a young man from Tennessee, I think he's million range, and he's a high school, he's getting his money from the University of Tennessee. He hasn't lost any eligibility, that it's legal. So first and foremost, know where your state.
Hey, Doug, I have two questions for you. One is it normally you have people on campus that want to do an NIL agreement and they come through companies like you and you find the athlete, or does the athlete have that relationship and they reach out to a group like you to help them with? That would be my first one.
Okay, the answer is yes. It's both. So there are so at Virginia Tech we have, let's just say, 70 athletes that are registered or that are a part of the Triumph family. So all of those athletes through Virginia Tech have Virginia Tech works on a platform called Influencer, and people can go to tech website and they can find athletes and they can say, hey, I want to do, I want to do business with this particular player. When they go through to that player, it lists us, and then people, it directs the traffic to us to work. So it can go through the player. The player can be out and somebody can approach them and say, hey, I run this business, or I have this interest in, I'd like to work with you. That player says, hey, I'm registered with Triumph, might come that way. Or somebody might, know of Triumph through some of the other deals that we've done, and reach out to us directly and say, hey, we have this product, or we have this goal. One of the things that makes our company strong is we have 7 partners that are involved, and we come from all different segments of the sports and entertainment industry. So we are well suited for a company that comes to us and doesn't really know what they need. They know that they'd like to work with Virginia Tech. They know they'd like to leverage some of the more popular athletes in particular sports, but they might be open to, let's find an athlete that really resonates with what we're trying to accomplish. And that's where we would come in and help that company find that athlete and create a partnership that really that really provides return for that company. Because in the long term, one of the interesting things about the NIL marketplace is athletes come and go. Their shelf life at any particular university is, has an end. It's 4 or 5 years, depending upon, red shirt and, a COVID year and what have you. And in some cases, it's less. Those supremely talented athletes might play 2-3 years before they go to the next level. And so we want to make sure that we're creating partnerships that have that have the opportunity to drive results for that business, because we're hoping that at the end of that deal, there's an opportunity to pivot and find another athlete, or to find, as their needs change, we're able to pivot and work on providing successful partnerships in perpetuity.
So you guys
David,
primarily. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Ed.
David, you were alluding, but I want to just a little bit more to, right? Student athlete, 5-star, has 40 some offer. And they would, at this school, we have this offer down, essentially like still a 12th grader. They got a multiple offers, just pitching NIL deals to them.
Did you get all that, Doug?
I did. I think I was going in and out a little bit, but I think that you were referring to athletes that are getting offers in the NIL space to go to certain colleges, and how that looks, or how do you? Were you asking about maybe how you evaluate those as an athlete?
Yeah. Okay. Like understand NIL. Period. Everybody knows what name, image, and likeness. Monetizing your and working with businesses, company to a parent when they're assessing process, and they're like, well, image and likeness, I can monetize, but at the end of the day, what does that really look like to that parent, and what they be asking along the way in that process?
Yeah. I think when it high school, so in terms of how you I think you have, right, you have grab transfer portal opportunity portal. has created free agency. So that's where you're going to max is in portal, because that you can play at a high level where you're not an unknown in professional sports. You have tons of leverage. In high school, you're a little prone to the value, in my opinion, because you haven't. Well, we're still projecting you. So, or the things that they need to consider is offers are you hearing from other people, right? From one school, then you leverage it in some way, right? But then, what like understand the market, understand, do your research. Other athletes are being compensated. NCAA rules where you can't be in Duke college, right? So the only thing a collective is somewhat tell you what your market offer you anything specific to it. We think someone with this profile, with this skill set, looking at the market as a whole, we think your value is in this range that we've done for our players once they gave our athletes have gotten and different things they've so really as what state you live in situation, Virginia, you're going to be discussed like when you get to college versus like right now you can't get anything as a state school of Virginia. You do shoot to come to Virginia Tech, but level the playing. If you it's different places, listening about NIL, and then completely to what you would compare their uniform or their scheme or the social life, right? Like bigger than what it is. Just to what you're hearing. That makes sense, Eddie.
One thing that I want to point out to add to that is, the kids that are looking at colleges and seemingly have these massive NIL opportunities coming, out of high school are few and far between. And so I would look at the masses of athletes, not just in the major sports, but or the, let's say, the Olympic sports, as opposed to like the high revenue generating programs, but across the board. If you're an athlete looking at school, I would make sure you do one thing first and foremost is make sure that school that they have an NIL plan, that they have partnerships in place. And what you want to do is, as far as, Triumph works primarily with Virginia Tech, and we have a focus on recruit, retain, reward. And so the recruiting portion isn't necessarily about going out and, flashing money around to recruits. It's about, we're providing a system at Virginia Tech where, as Brenden says, athletes know they can see what their value is. And it might not be a deal on the table, but they see the athletes that are coming before them in the different programs have opportunities available to them. So that's, you want to make sure that there's a system in place that allows or makes it possible for athletes to benefit off their name, image, likeness. Retaining, that's that second phase of, if you're at the school and you are producing and your value in terms of your IP rights is growing, then you have an opportunity and you have in place a team to help you monetize that opportunity, and that's where the reward comes on that back end. If you are doing well, in your particular sport, and that is in turn driving the value of your NIL, then you have in place, that system. You have in place that team behind you that can go out there and not only find opportunities from you, but can maximize those that come unsolicited.
Hey, Doug, do each of the colleges, piggybacking on what Eddie said, you've got a 4-star recruit and he's got 3 or 4 schools. Is that part of the conversation that you're having with them as you move forward? Is what is your NIL program like? What are the metrics? How, and do they have somebody in the football division, or is it the university that represents the NIL for that athlete of that school?
Great question.
Brenden, you want to jump in there? Or?
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So it's school to it's school to school. School has set up to have somewhat NIL. It really just varies from school to. It's not usually in the university. It's in the ecosystem of the being trained departments want their athletes' eyes on their name, image, and likeness because it earlier towards retention. Be supported or off the field, they can their living expenses. They're going to stay at that university. I would say a lot of schools don't have of NIL 1 year or 2, I think. So learning on the fly to make sure that I would say that dealing with and they're like, hey, these people are we don't conversation should be, and I'm sure you talk to someone who's affiliated on who has a relationship, don't have a relationship with the school. This is what they do professionally, right? Getting someone professional. Not saying you can't give. It's like, hey, what's your track record? It's not in college. Do you do market professional athletes? Do you do influencers? Like what is the tie-in? See dollar signs, and you want to help me compliance standpoint. We could your risk if people don't and then just I think also taxes, and there's a tax burden that comes with like that. So I think the more you can family just of the athletic department, your head on who they kind of want, you'll be fine. Or you can go out, you see CAA, any of these people getting involved, clutch sons to NIL. So I would say just make sure you get someone involved with the university who actually does marketing for athletes. So,
Eddie,
I have a question for you. Show me the money. I've had the last 4 years. What's the deal look like? How you gonna get me? I'm in my final year. I'm trying to go. The deal look like? What are some of the deals that you guys seen in your professional? Does that look like for a collegiate? Some of the contracts, what do they range and why? and why those ranks. Maybe a big, some, second tier deal.
Did you get that, Doug?
I a little bit.
I think what Eddie's saying, I apologize, guys, Brenden and Eddie, for whatever reason, the internet or something's not, so you're kind of going in and out. I think what Eddie was saying is give us some examples of some deals that you've done that are probably on the high end and then middle. Is that what you
Yes.
said?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Correct.
B, you want to start?
What I would tell you is the main thing, right? Like, what's gonna drive your performance as an athlete. If you're performing, and we're talking in college at a school or turn pro, you're gonna be tremendous. Who is on their second school, right? But if you have options, if you could other school, competitive school, because you still have your transfer. I think you saw Jordan, the kid from Pitt, who he ended up getting, or you saw Caleb Williams, I believe, at USC. Really just about what it is and what schools, and then you're looking at anywhere in the 1,000, 25,000, like a car, and covering your house, and it just depends on once school cannot induce you and don't induce you to stay or to come to say, hey, based on your talent, identifies your market value, what we are willing to pay. There has to be a compliant exchange. I give you $3 million, never talk to you again. I need you to media. You're gonna have to do some appearances. You're gonna have to work really hard to go. So seeing in the market, like I said, NIL, you see those $1 million deals that we paid our football team 2,000 plus last year. The too deep roster, payments, monthly payments, and exchanges in return. They had to appear at photo shoots. They had to do, but so it's a range. See it in the football and basketball. We've been, and Doug, we pride ourselves on trying to get some of the name, image, and likeness, like women's baseball and stuff like that. So,
one other thing I'd add is, there's an educational process to this too, where athletes are coming on board, and let's say some of those higher level athletes that are thinking about going professional in whatever sport, there's an element where they need to prepare their bodies and their minds to go through the rigors. David, Eddie, you're familiar with what it takes to be a professional athlete. Brenden was all ACC. That guy's got a background too, knows what it takes to achieve as an athlete at a very, very high level. Beyond that, we're looking to help athletes. Athletes these days, a lot of their compensation at a higher level comes from off the field activities, and it comes from things that stem from that professional playing contract. So we help build a business profile for these athletes. So it's not just about the dollars that they're able to come in now, but if they have a show that as they come out of college, that they have worked with, company A, B, and C, and they have provided, as they have lived up to a statement of work, where they have done things, whether it's social media, they have done things, whether it be appearances, whether it be lending their image for a commercial spot. Those are things that show that they can be responsible and that they can be they can be held into account to deliver as a business person, above and beyond delivering as an athlete. That has value when you get to that next level. And the other thing, I would say, that in terms of money, it not only determines about what that statement of work is, but if you're doing a commercial that you need people on your team as an athlete to help you really determine your value. So it's not just about your name, image, or likeness being worth X amount, but if you're going on a commercial that's going to and that commercial has a budget or a distribution budget of $100,000, you should be paid more for that because of how widespread your name, image, and likeness is going to be used. That's a different conversation than saying, "Hey, I'm going to be on one billboard," or "Hey, I'm going to be on you're going to use my image on your website," or what have you. So you need all of those things factor in to what a deal is worth and what your value is in that as a participant in that deal.
Yeah.
Hey, Doug, I know that we're looking at bigger NILs. Alabama $1 million, Virginia Tech. But what about on the other end of the spectrum for that athlete that's maybe a D3? And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they're not going to get a huge $1 million deal, but are there NIL agreements for those smaller schools and for women and different sports other than the headliner football?
Certainly. Yeah, look, if you're at a smaller school, there's opportunity, and in some ways there's more opportunity. It's just less money, right?
Right.
So if you, you name the school in, in Virginia, Washington and Lee, you're in a small town there, but perhaps the local gym, the local restaurant, the local coffee shop, the local, they all do advertising in some sense. And if you are a star athlete on campus and you want to, perhaps there's an opportunity there to do something in exchange for meals, or do something in exchange for a lesser amount of money. But there are certainly opportunities in those spaces where small business can make great use of a local athlete in those areas. So that certainly would play a role. I look at a lot of athletes in our area when we're working with athletes that are, we'll say they're Olympic sports. They're across Virginia Tech, and we have tremendous programs. Golf, tennis, softball, baseball. Wrestling. We have tremendous athletes on our roster, and a lot of times those athletes have come up through clubs that are in the business of recruiting athletes at the high school level, or AAU type programs. And those athletes that are playing at Tech, they can, I encourage to go back to those clubs and say, "Hey, my family paid thousands of dollars for me to participate or to be in your club over time. Would you like to use me as a spokesperson, or as somebody? Would you like to use my name, image, and likeness to help recruit that next great young player to play in your club, so that you can continue to be competitive in your industry?" So there are ways in which, whether it be at smaller colleges or in sports that don't really drive the recognition as, let's say football or basketball at major universities, there are opportunities out there. It's just a matter of looking under the right rocks.
I would definitely say social media is the great equalizer. If you have a great following, that's the equalizer. Being at a bigger school or not,
Mhm.
being the star athlete is significant. significant on TikTok or Instagram where people are following what you say, I think that has some.
Eddie, you got a question?
I submitted them to you guys. I know we were going in and out a bit. Is the playing field in the world NIL? Is it current? You know, a few months, Deion got into it. Stuff.
Talking about the Nick Saban, Deion.
Yeah, Eddie,
Deion was
is the playing field in the world of the portal and NIL deals, is it currently fair play for Power 5 right now? And if so, why isn't it? Did I say that right, Ed?
I think it's I think it's fair. Question.
You said
Okay.
You say you.
Yeah, only because look at it, and this is going to be a right, but what's at the universities bring. You look at the scholarship universities pay every year. You look at the coaches that are, if you're in Power 5, probably 3-4 million a year. Those guys are in the 9 million, right? But even in the ACC, million is going rate. You look at the enrollment. You look at all the sports. You look at what the March Madness brings in. March. You look at college. You look at all these things, that ecosystem. I think it's really just up to the B to that money in program, like Doug was saying, right? So I think it's fair because it and it's ultimately the like I said, the powers that be, the presidents, the coaches, to and put that money in use. But five is in file and different things like that. That's a different conversation here.
Hey, so we could go on and on about this, but I wanted to wrap up with two quick things. One is, guys, what type of athletes are you looking for? What's in your wheelhouse for Triumph? Are you just solely focusing in on Virginia Tech right now?
Yeah, that's supporting Virginia Tech. Like I said, I had a call last week. It goes to a Big Ten school. Just consulting. That's the reason we're doing this webinar. It is such a new space, and boys out there. So the more that we can advise people and know what questions are important, we can do that. But as far as the support Virginia Tech athletes, I would also about where the NIL money and so donors can pay. They can write a check to an athlete has to do an exchange. Athlete money and that athlete. So that's where someone like Triumph comes in. Wants to, business. Well, build a campaign. We can design. We can manage the active recap, post on social. And see, we can manage that intermediary. But the money mentioned earlier, Eddie, from the owners, from nonprofit. You know, the money is when you look at Ed O'Bannon case with the video game. There's money out here for Doug on what we're looking for in the space.
Yeah, I think that there's two things that I was thinking of as Brenden was answering there, but one, we're certainly focused on athletes of character as well. So, granted, they've got to, you build your name, image, and likeness is, you can't be paid for your performance, but it's silly to think that performance doesn't play a role in your name, image, likeness. Being at Power 5 schools where you have, where you are performing on ESPN or you're performing on the ACC network or beyond, those are areas where your name, image, likeness, or your value can increase exponentially simply because you have now access to those platforms. And that's super important. But in the end, we try to work with athletes that will accentuate the core values of any particular business. So we need to make sure that when we are working with a company, we need to understand what they are seeking in terms of return out of that deal. And we're providing an athlete that can do that, not only with their personality and their skill set, but with their innate character and who they are, that reflects well upon that company. In the end, there's the people that are investing in this space, they're going to need some type of return at some point in time. And we're really laser focused on that. Those donors and companies that have come in right away and they're splashing big dollars, if that player doesn't perform or doesn't provide them return on that investment, that's going to have a negative impact on how they want to continue that level of investment over, cycle over cycle. So we like to make sure that, we're putting together deals that are meaningful, that do, leave that, when that deal ends, those companies and those investors and those donors, they want to do it again. They want to have a long-term relationship with us because we are able to bring to them, athletes that are performing well, on the field, on the court, in the classroom, that they are delivering value that is worth that investment. And then on the back end, that company is wanting to work with us again.
Hey, listen, we're coming up on 45 minutes here. First of all, thank you guys so much for your time in sharing that. I'm sure that there's 1,000 different questions that we can ask you, but this gets it started. Guys, if anybody going to Virginia Tech or needs help with NILs, talk to Triumph. Their website is triumphnil.com. Obviously, coaching, Eddie Mason at MASE Training is the best coach, bar none. But one thing that you can send anybody who's watching this, whether it's a player or a parent, and I'm a high school kid, aside from me being a superstar athlete, is there anything else that I could be doing to maybe prepare myself for entering into this NIL world?
My advice is always none of this conversation without a person, a really good athlete, keeping your brand clean, like media and stuff like that. So don't chase dollars, don't chase what other people are doing. Just be those things will come. That's my.
I was going to say you have to be prepared to work. This is, it's important that, certainly when you are a scholarship athlete or you're going and you're playing at this next level, that's a job You have to look at that as a job, just like you do your schoolwork and those things that you need to commit to remain an athlete at any particular university. But beyond that, each of these deals come with a statement of work in our world, and you have to be prepared to to execute against that. That's why we are here as an agency. We put together things that we think are manageable, and we like to say to our athletes, hey, you focus. We're here to help you put together a deal that's meaningful, that rewards you equitably for what you have built for yourself. But in the end, we can't do the work for you. And so you have to go to that appearance. You have to do that social media post. You have to, you have to go to that photo shoot or that commercial shoot to, to live up to, what your end of this bargain. We're here to allow you to focus the most time on your skill and preparing for the next level, and your studies and your family and friends. That's an important part of this too. But in the end, you still, if you're engaging in this space, you have to be prepared to follow through and deliver, because that's that business profile that I mentioned earlier. That's so important when you do go to the next level, whether it be a professional athlete or a professional in any other walk of life. You have this body of work that you have built as your profile, and that's what you carry on, and that's going to help you get to that next step, wherever that may be.
Awesome. Hey, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for your time. Edward, Eddie, Brenden, Doug, signing off. NIL agreements. Talk to Triumph. Take care, guys.
Thanks, David.